I want to be known for somebody who builds other people up and creates this amazing community for them. And that's what I'm hoping to do with Smart Podcast Solutions and with everybody that I meet.
Welcome to Leaf Notes, the podcast that helps your business take root and grow. I'm Adria Marshall, seasoned business owner and speaker.
And I'm Sydney Mafuka, artist, illustrator, and small business owner.
Join us each week as we take you on a journey through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. We'll dive into everything from social media strategy to protecting your business.
We'll even answer your burning questions such as, do I need a business plan? Should I form an LLC? Where should I promote my business? And so much more.
Together with our guests, we'll break down these topics into actionable steps, helping you build the business of your dreams.
So whether you're just starting or you're looking to scale, we got you covered.
So go grab your notebooks, your favorite beverage, and cozy up to receive practical insights and inspiration here on Leaf Notes. Let's go make your business dreams a reality. Hey, you guys, I am excited to be here. We are excited to be here with Jess Milanes. Thank you for telling me how to pronounce your last name, Jess, so much. From Smart Podcast Solutions. Jess is awesome because she and her team have developed a proprietary solutions that allow them to launch a podcast in a day. She and her team have launched over 100 podcasts, and they support entrepreneurs, startup in stilettos, healthy hustle, and a ton more. And today she's going to talk to us about how to turn your passion into a business, how to use transferable skills, make yourself awesome, and to use your podcast as a top of funnel marketing strategy. Did I get all that right, Jess?
You got it all right. And of course, you can't forget that we support you guys too. So,
Yes.
the most important podcast of all, Leaf Notes.
Yay. So, Jess, I want to start out, and Sydney, you can hop in whenever you want to, but I have so many things to talk about. First of all, I know your incredible story on how you started Smart Podcast Solutions, but I want you to share that with our viewers and our audience overall.
Yeah. So I never thought that I was going to be a podcast agency owner, and I never thought that I was also going to be a mom. Back in 2019, I'd been trying to get pregnant for 3 years.
Okay.
And I was also really unhappy with my corporate job. I wanted to pursue something in the online space, but I wasn't sure what that looked like, what I wanted to be. And so I just kind of sat with it. And I got a hit, a download, whatever you want to call it, where I needed to start a podcast. And I needed to start a podcast all around my infertility struggles and women's health. And my goal with my podcast, Real Talk Women's Health and Fertility, was really to break down the stigma behind women's health and have conversations about the taboo topics in the main atmosphere. Like, just bring it out and have it in front of doors instead of behind closed doors. So fell in love with podcasting, fell in love with, just the community, the medium, everything about it. And then in October of 2019, we were told that we would never get pregnant naturally. And if anybody has ever been in that situation, you know the heartbreak. It is just so devastating. And IVF was not on the table for us for a variety of reasons. So I took a pause. And then 30 days later, we found out that we were pregnant naturally. And long journey after that, but basically life got really crazy because there was a pandemic. I had a baby at 29 weeks gestation, and I just wanted to get back to podcasting, but I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how I was going to do it because I didn't want to go back to my previous podcast. That was a moment in time. And then in 2022, I decided, you know what? I want to get back into this, but instead of having my own podcast, I really want to support others with a unique point of view, a story to share, and help bring them into the podcasting medium. So I opened Smart Podcast Solutions and have just loved working with so many people around the world. And one of my missions is to democratize access to podcasting. A lot of people believe that it's really hard, it's really confusing. And I'm here to break down that myth and say that it's not hard, it's not confusing. And we really aim to support people where they're at every different price point.
That is so amazing, and there's so much to unpack. Sydney, did you have something to say?
No, besides like it's really inspiring. I love how your story kind of started out with you doing something to sort of bring a community together. It sounds like your people and to spread information about stuff, but then now you're here helping others like chase their dreams and who were maybe once in your shoes. So that's super cool.
Do you ever miss having your own podcast?
Oh, I do because I love people, and I think you guys know that already, but
Mhm.
I just could sit and chit chat with people all day long, every single day. So I do miss having my own podcast, and I think that I am going to get back to a
Mhm.
podcast probably this year. And when that happens, you guys will be the first to know, but I have a really, really unique and recognizable podcast name that I think is going to be just so fire, and I'm so excited to release it hopefully later this year.
Oh, yeah, we're excited for you. We love a good secret. So when you set about launching smart podcast solutions, what was your biggest challenge in getting it off the ground?
Oh, this is such a great question. So I was starting from absolute scratch. I had been out of the online space in for basically, gosh, at that point, almost 2.5, 3 years. And I didn't have any connections. I didn't know what to do. So I really was trying to figure out, how did I make a name for myself? Who should I connect with? What community should I be in? And I started off like so many other service providers, cruising Facebook groups. And I'm not saying that it's the worst place to go, but it's definitely not the place where your value is most seen. However, I did make some really great connections in those early Facebook groups that led me to other opportunities, that led me to other opportunities. And within, gosh, about 6 months or so of opening up my doors, I was supporting some major podcasts because I had always led with that community and relationship building first rather than pitching myself. So I would say the first thing that was so challenging was, how do I get my name out there? What do I do? Where do I go?
And I think that's something that we are struggling with also, and we kind of chatted about that in our last touch base, because yeah, you launched it, and like, but if a tree falls in the forest, like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so have we really really launched? So let's dive into that a little bit, because you were talking about one of your points that you want to discuss today is how to use a podcast as your top of funnel marketing tool. So talk to us more about that.
Yeah. So for those who are interested in or don't know about the marketing funnel, there's a ton of different modalities or ideologies in the marketing funnel. I'm going to basically say that there are three for the sake of this conversation. So we have our top of funnel, otherwise known as tofu, which is just
Mhm,
hilarious to me. And then we have our middle of funnel, and then we have our bottom of funnel.
mhm,
And the top of funnel is really where you're getting your brand awareness out there. It is casting the wide net and just slowly bringing people in and letting them come into your middle of funnel, which is where you're going to nurture them and make them feel seen, loved, understood. And then the bottom of the funnel is where the conversion happens. So that is where people say, heck yes, I know you know your stuff. I want you. I want to buy today. Um, so with podcasting, there's so many different ways that you can position yourself as a podcaster. And one of the things that I know we talked about when we were launching Leaf Nodes is that you wanted to be known as a thought leader, Adria. You really wanted to have this business expertise out there, and you wanted to also cast that wide net to allow people to come into your space that hadn't been there before. How we manage that, or how we talked about to how we could set that up, is to put you in a position of expert or a thought leadership role within your own podcast, and then also leverage guests like me and some of the other amazing guests that you have had to help introduce you to new audiences. So there's really a nice formula that you can do to play with to figure out based on what your goals are ultimately for the podcast to really lean into that top of funnel marketing.
Got it. That is so fascinating because I think if people, they always want to know how do I get started? Like there's always the thing, but then what do I do with that? And I think that's what you really helped us out with because Sydney and I knew we wanted to launch a podcast, but you really helped us kind of tease it apart and dive into it and make sense of the whole thing to where it's like, yes, I see actual purpose in it and we know what to do. But what I love about you too, Jess, I remember when we were about, we had like a month or 6 weeks to launch our podcast. And it was
Mhm.
so daunting because I'm running a whole company in Sydney as well. But you made it so seamless and easy for us to get started and for us to continue to get this going. And you're right, breaking down the barriers and the myth and the cost involved and all of that has just been amazing. So talk to us a lot about how you developed this formula of launching a podcast in a day and how you're able to make it so quick and easy and so cost effective.
Yeah. So, really, what I love to do, or one of my superpowers, actually, I'll say, is taking incredibly complex problems and breaking them down into simple solutions. That was actually what I did in my corporate career, along with really translating techie speak to layman speak. And so podcasting is rife with tech. It is rife with confusing terms and
Mhm.
confusing, just it feels big and confusing. And so what I did to develop the Smart Podcast launch, which is my VIP day, is I I took a step back and said, okay, what do people really need help with? What can get them across the finish line and feel like, oh my gosh, I did this. I did this in a day, and this dream has been on my heart for years, but like, oh my gosh, it's done. So I came up with a few things. The first is music. I know this is one of my favorite things
Yeah.
to do. I cannot stand
Mm.
generic synth pop on everybody's podcast.
Yeah.
If I tune into your podcast and it sounds like everybody else's, don't want it.
Right.
Um, so I have found a wonderful royalty-free website that I actually have a subscription to, so I help source the music for that, and I limit it down from a million options to, like, 10, which
Hmm.
is much more digestible. Then the other thing is I have found when we are so close to our own businesses and our own, goals, it's really hard for us to come up with what we want to say. So,
Hmm.
I then script your intro and your outro and your trailer episode, and then I
Yeah.
write out your show description. And this is all designed to give the listener or the casual podcast searcher an idea of who you are and what this podcast is going to be about. So, it's a really targeted
Hmm.
piece of the service to help get that transformation. The next piece is audio editing. People
Hmm.
get really, really confused and concerned about audio editing. There's a
Yes.
lot of great tools out there that can allow you to do it yourself if that's something that you want to do. But for those who are looking for a little bit more polish, a little bit more of a professional aspect on the flip side, we do all the professional editing for the intro, outro, and trailer episode. And then last but not least, the podcast host setup. There's just
Hmm.
like, how do you actually get onto the apps? And we really only support you getting on Apple and Spotify because that is 99.9% of the market share. But that's the last step. So we will do all of that in a day. And usually, for the most part, we see podcasts go live in Apple and Spotify at the end of the VIP day. So we start at 11 a.m. Eastern, and by 5 p.m. Eastern, your podcast is available for people to download.
I have to know, how are you able to work so efficiently to get that all done? Because that was so much. And for us, you did that in a month, and even that felt like a lot. So what were some systems that you sort of built for yourself to be able to make this possible?
Great question, Sydney. So there is a business coach that I love, and I don't even know if she would define herself as a business coach these days, but her handle is Systems Saved Me. You guys should follow her, Jordan Gill. She's fabulous. And back in 2019, I'm sorry, not 2019, 2022, 2023, she was really leaning into teaching people how to create VIP days and how to do that with a very intentional focus, like what sort of deliverables need to be delivered for that transformation. So it was really about 3 months of mapping out the actual process and figuring out what could be done ahead of the actual day, what needed to be done day of in order to deliver that transformation. And so, I do have some pre-work that happens before the actual day itself to give me space and grace on the actual VIP day. But starting at 11 until 4 p.m., my husband knows, do not disturb. I am unavailable. I got things to do. So I would say that's really how I broke out all the systems. And some of the things that I love to use are Google Docs. I use ClickUp for the project management tool. And then I use Hindenburg Pro for my audio editing. And so that's how I manage it in a day, basically.
That's super cool. And I have to know, so these systems that you use in your podcast, do you ever apply these systems to like real life? Because what I was thinking about was like, and I'll get sorry, then I'll stop talking so much, Mom. But
No, you're talking the perfect amount, Sydney.
yeah. Thank you. But something I've been working on is like when it comes to emailing, like when I do commissions and stuff, doing some of that pre-work beforehand of like having my template right for my email for when people are inquiring, asking the same questions I ask everybody. You know what I mean? So are there any other areas where you sort of kind of learn that these systems sort of work for you?
Another one of my super skills is executive functioning. I am a parent to a neurodivergent child, and so I have gotten really, really good at figuring out what is critical and what is not, and parsing things out. And there's also a fabulous thought leader, I guess you would call her, called the Lazy Genius. And she talks about systematizing your life and figuring out like how to do things. And for her, it's all very basic, simple stuff. It's not, revolutionary, but it's, on Mondays, you have meatless Mondays. On Tuesdays, it's Taco Tuesdays. So it really takes that decision making out of the process. But one of the things that I would say for your commission, Sydney, and not to coach you on your podcast, but
No, coach away.
have you ever tried a CRM system like Dubsado or HoneyBook?
No, I heard of HoneyBook before, but I don't know much.
So it could be such a transformational way for you to get that information without having to run all over the place and like look in your email. So, and I apologize. Dubsado is another one of my favorite tools that I use in this VIP day process. So what I do is I have, you can do an intake form and we send a proposal, contract and invoice, and that's all done within Dubsado. And then after you pay your contract and invoice, I will send you a questionnaire that gets all the details that I need about your podcast ahead of the actual VIP day. And so that could be something that you could do for the commissions. You could have an intake inquiry form and then have a workflow where it sends an email back, or like it'll pop up a task, say, hey, Sydney, you need to send an email to Jane Doe about a commission. And if it looks good, then they can fill out a questionnaire, and it's all within Dubsado's portal. So you can click and go back to that questionnaire without having to search through a bunch of different emails.
That's really cool.
That's a game changer.
That's
right there.
amazing.
I'll show you mine. I'll send you a Loom.
Okay. Yay. Because yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so helpful. Just and that kind of speaks to just like I think part of what we fell in love with you, or part of why we fell in love with you, is because you have a genuine, helpful spirit. Like you're always looking to make somebody's life easier. And I think you're doing that through your podcast. So how many podcasts are you currently supporting?
I think I am currently supporting 8.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I said, I have different tiers of support, and one of the tiers that I'm really focused on building out this year is actually called my audio subscription, and that is just for those who have an audio podcast that is
Mhm.
weekly episodes, 35 minutes or less, and it's super affordable at $500 a month. We will do your audio
It's
editing and
incredible.
schedule things out for you.
Wow.
And then you also get quarterly one-on-ones with me and monthly group calls. So it's like so affordable,
Why
so
not?
amazing. And I'm looking to scale that to probably about 30 people this year, because it's a super scalable offer for me.
That is just amazing. If I can toot your horn for a second, I would say that things that you do for us that make life so much easier, but updating our Shopify page so our website always looks great and current with the guests, the show notes, sending us clips to use for social media. I mean, you just make it so easy for us that it's like, so to anybody out there who's looking to start a podcast, I am telling you, this is like the lowest risk decision you can make this year because just makes it so, 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 so easy.
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much, Adria. And I would be remiss, especially because they are watching this, but I would be remiss to not mention my team because I do have such an amazing team behind me. I have a fabulous audio and video editor. I have a wonderful show notes writer, and then I have a couple different admins on my team, and they help me be a mom and build out this amazing budding agency.
When you started everything, this agency, we'll say,
Mhm.
were you doing it all by yourself at first, or did you know like you were going to need a team?
So my initial thought was I was going to do it all by myself. I was going to do the editing, I was going to do the show notes, I was going to do guest management, which also meant reaching out, like pitching, scheduling, all the things, like basically be your one-stop shop for literally everything podcasting. And as time went on, I recognized where my strengths were and looked at my community and who I could bring up and who I could support in the world, and bring them in under my agency to get them some money to help support me, and give me time to really focus on being the best CEO, being the best mom. It's totally taken a transformation, totally, but I love it.
I think it's so cool. I'm cutting you off,
You
Mark. I know
are,
you're
you
about to
are.
say
I
something.
was, but go on.
But I think that's really cool because from someone, and mom, I know you can relate from you
Mhm,
doing everything yourself and your own
mhm.
business and being able to scale, that sometimes it does feel comfy to know you have control over literally everything. But I think something, mom, that you told me before is like you realize that there are people out there that can do what you're doing way better
A
than
lot better
you.
than you. So there's that, but just something that took me, so I'm so proud of you. Because it took me forever to realize this. Like I realized it maybe last year and I'm 48, is that it's about just what you said. So if you think about, in my opinion, you can think of things from a point of weakness or a point of strength, in my opinion. So I can think, geez, I can't do it all myself. I need to get some help, blah, blah, blah. Woe is me, blah, blah, blah. That's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Or you can do what you did. And what I just realized is that there is so much power in being able to align yourself with people that you can pour into, help to support their career, help to support their family. And yes, Sydney, they can do it better than you too. And then it doesn't feel like, oh, woe is me, I can't do it. It feels like we're doing this all together. We're all making each other better. And that's the way that I look at it now. And I'm just like so proud of the way that I can support my contractor who comes and helps on our shop. Just everybody, right? Sydney is like Corey, who is downstairs, who fell on hard times. Like he's amazing at what he does, right? And just
Mhm.
bringing each other up is so powerful.
And beyond that, I think so there's this idea of aligning yourself with a higher purpose, right?
Mhm.
And I think that when you're able to take a lot of weight off of your shoulders, your business or whatever you're doing, has so much potential to go so much more like further, because big companies, what do they have? They have teams. They have different people working on this. It's not just like, let's say Downy, the toilet paper. Like there's not one person doing the packaging, one person cranking out all that toilet paper and putting it in the stores, marketing, all of that stuff, right? So I think when you think about it that way, it's also aligning yourself with for more, and that's more in all directions, right?
Yeah, I'm probably going to get choked up when I say this, so bear with me, y'all.
Yeah.
But it reminds me, I used to do this self-development course called Landmark Forum, and I did it back in my 20s. And one of the things that they, like the ultimate level, after you went through all of their smaller weekend stuff, the ultimate level was I think it was a 12-week course where you develop a project that is designed to get bigger than you. And you learn that you may be the initiator, but you can create a legacy through that initiation. And, you know, the people that started Downy, you who started EcoSlate, Adria, like you think you have this small little idea, and then you just put one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
And you look who you can serve, not only with your customers, but also with your community. Who needs support, and what powers do they have that can support you and support your clients? And it just builds this amazing community that can truly transform the world. And that is my legacy. I want to be known for somebody who builds other people up and creates this amazing community for them. And that's what I'm hoping to do with Smart Podcast Solutions and with everybody that I meet.
Well, Jess, you already are. You are. You are known for that. I sing your praises all the time because you are the most selfless and humble and empowering and knowledgeable and strong woman that I know.
Oh, you guys.
I know. I'm like all teary-eyed now.
That's so sweet.
Yes. And what an inspiration to your family, too. It's just amazing. You should be so proud of yourself. And I'm so proud to know you. Okay, stop it. So let's shift gears. Okay. So I have so many things to cover, and I don't want to take too much time, but talk to us about how you navigate parenthood and being a partner with having a full-time job. That's your baby. How have you balanced all of that? And what advice do you have for so many women out there that are trying to do it all?
So the first thing that I will say is balance is bullshit. It's all about integration.
On a t-shirt.
And yeah, and this is such perfect timing because I think this is being released the week after your time management episode, and I got to watch all of that, and so I know what you guys were talking about. But how do I balance it all? Well, balance is bullshit, and I have learned that there are glass balls and there are plastic balls. And the glass balls you do not drop. The plastic balls can be dropped. And so it goes back to that executive functioning of what is actually critical, what needs to happen right now in order to see the most success. And, you know, I don't do things perfectly. Our laundry never gets put away. And we have frozen pizza at least one night of the week. But you know what? It's a season, it's a phase. And I know that I am building this to build a legacy within my family and to give my husband space for one day to possibly retire. And so he can participate in different ways in our family too.
So how do you decide what is a glass ball and what is a plastic ball? Because for me, I'm juggling all the balls, like not sure which one, you know what I mean? And then I drop a glass one. I'm like, oh no, what the glass one?
Oh goodness. Okay. I have to stop and think, because there were questions that were brought to me about defining that exact thing. So the glass balls, the questions that you really need to ask yourself are, am I going to ruin a relationship? Am I going to impact somebody's health or my health? Am I going to lose significant money or currency or like whether it's good faith currency? And you need to be realistic. Not everybody's gonna love you. Not everybody's going to think like, "Oh my god, this one thing is the most important thing." And at the end of the day, it probably isn't. There's a lot
Mm,
fewer glass balls out there than there are plastic balls,
mhm,
and I would say for me, my glass balls are my priorities. My family, my health, my business. Those are my 3 priorities, and it honestly goes in that order right now because that's just where we're at this
Mhm.
in life. Another thing that I wanna add on to defining whether or not it's a glass ball, I worked in the mortgage industry in my corporate career, and that can be a really high pace, fast pace, high stress environment, especially at the end of getting a mortgage. People are, want to meet their deadlines. And so I would always ask my team, are you in the business of saving somebody's life?
mm,
Are you going to save somebody's life today? If not, get up, take a walk.
mm.
It will be okay.
It's powerful. Did you have a response? I had a response. If he had a response, I'm not gonna take it from you. I'm tired of cutting you off, Mom. I feel bad.
No, go on.
Okay, I think that is really powerful.
That's what I said.
The way that
I love you guys.
By the way.
the way that you know, like your priorities.
Mhm.
Because I think, especially in this Western society we live in, that's very individualist. That is very like work, work, work. Like grind, grind, grind. Get to where you want to be in life. It can be oh, I've seen and I've heard like from just like college professors and like other things of people compromising their health for things that may not be worth that. You know what I mean? And so it's really cool that you were able to set those priorities because I think that's really important, especially when you start owning your own business and working for yourself because you're the only one who can tell you, hey, your shift's over. You know what I mean? It's time to go take care of yourself and your family. And yeah.
Yeah, and my husband also probably should tell me a few times a week, "Hey, your shift is over." But he doesn't. He's so supportive. He's amazing.
Appreciate so much. Jess, so I was at this event over the weekend, and one of the questions that were asked of me, so apparently there's this thing going around. I could not relate to it all because my husband's amazing also, but where husbands are giving their wives like a really hard time when they want to start a business, because they almost feel like the woman's place is still in the home. Like they are responsible for making sure the kids are clothed, fed, laundry, house is clean, some lovin's too, like all of that. And they feel like that's their woman's or their wives or their girlfriend's top priority, not having their own business. I'm so fortunate I can't identify with that because my husband's amazing and fully supports me. It sounds like yours is too. Have you run across that when you're working with other women where their partners are not quite as supportive, or have you been lucky enough to be spared that?
I think there's a mix, but I think the bigger question is, as a society, are we allowing women to step into the business ownership role? Because I do believe that there is a lot of societal programming that women should have it all and do it all and be it all, and men just get to focus on work. And
Mhm.
I think, there's a conversation that needs to be happening at the societal level, which I think there is more of a reckoning coming with the Barbie movie and so many
Mhm.
other major things out there that are really shifting the narrative. But I choose to surround myself with people who have equitable relationships because the people that you spend the most time with are the people who you most emulate in life. And so I can't really say that I have experienced that with some of
Mhm,
my coworkers and friends, but I do know that that is something that I actually struggle with often.
mhm,
I will stop and say, "Well, maybe I should just, like, take the day off." Like,
mhm,
full transparency, when we got the text message this morning at 6 a.m. that school was closed, my first thought was, "Oh my god, I should just cancel everything today,"
mhm,
which meant that
Mhm.
I would cancel this interview. I have another speaking engagement at 1, and
Mhm.
I was like, "This is stuff to help me grow my business, and I cannot cancel. I need to show up for myself." And I am
Mhm.
so grateful that my husband says, no, I can handle it and does. And
That's
we have that
awesome.
ability to balance.
This is the best interview ever. You have been dropping so many nuggets. I think women, but just us overall, like we just need to hear these sorts of things. But you are right. As a woman, same thing. I am the one, or it feels like maybe my husband feels the same way, but I definitely feel like when something goes on with Alice's school, if she gets sick, if dinner gets burned, then I feel like I am the one that has to take care of it. So we are so blessed to have a partner that can be like, no, 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 no. I can do it. You are important to kind of echo that validation that we are.
Mhm.
It's like a quiet voice, but having that support makes it so much louder, right?
Yes, yes. And, no hate, no shade. I am in therapy to
Mhm.
quiet my own voice because
Yeah.
I will constantly see the the expectations. I mean, even within my own family, um, the the example that I had growing up was mom does everything and
Hmm.
dad goes to work. And mom worked 60 hours a week. She worked 2 jobs and
Wow.
still took care of
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
And so I have this immense programming in my brain that if I do not have everything as glass balls, and if everything isn't perfect,
Yeah.
then nothing is good. And that
Right.
is a narrative that needs to stop not only in my own head, but in a society as whole.
Amen to that. Okay, Jess, I have to get to a couple of things. I have to get to a couple of things. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Turning your passion into a business. So I did that with hair care. You've done that also with your podcast. What is your advice for women who want to either find that passion and even if they know what that passion is, how to turn that passion into a business?
Finding the passion, I think there's 2 answers, right? There's
Mhm,
finding the passion, and I think that that really, um, starts with us prioritizing ourselves, finding
mhm.
time and space for us to actually do the things that we like to do,
Yeah,
and I think we have to actually ask ourselves, "What is it that I'm interested in that is not
right,
my kids, that's not my spouse, that's not my house?"
right.
And be
Who am
unapologetic in
I?
that.
Yes,
Exactly, exactly.
right.
Um, and then once you find that piece of passion that just is that quiet whisper that turns into a loud roar within your soul, then I think it's figuring out what does that mean? Does it mean that you are going to sell a product? Are you going to sell a service? Are you going to coach somebody? And then you just get out there and do it. Make yourself known. It might suck at first. You might suck at first, but you will get better at it. And I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and you have to take those first steps. And if it's a passion
Mhm.
that you truly love, it won't feel like work.
Absolutely, and, I met with someone over the weekend too, and she had a powerful message too about us stop looking at our failures, but as pivots, right?
Yes.
And I think that is so powerful as well because I know that I have pivoted throughout this entire career. And it's so important because how are you going to learn if you don't make mistakes? And they aren't mistakes, they make you better. But I think we're so afraid of even taking that first step. But just like you were saying, one step turns into the next step, turns into the next step, which turns into a business which turns into a legacy.
Mhm.
That is exactly how it happens, and it can't happen until you make the first step.
For sure. I think it's also just having that mindset gets you back up. If you see it as a
Mhm,
failure, you might be like, oh, I'm not cut out for this. This is just not for me. This was a stupid idea anyway.
mhm.
But when you see it as like, okay, this is just one lesson in a jar full of lessons,
Jar full of
then
lessons.
you're able to be like, okay, I got this. Like, I
Yes.
just learned something new.
And what I love to do, I call this out so many times, but I worked at MailChimp and we had the concept of the parts bin, right? And so they're not failures. You put them into the parts bin like an auto mechanic does, right?
Mhm.
And 2 years there was a meme about this too with, like, an old man who had, he was like a hoarder almost, and he was, like, stashing tools all over the garage, and one day his son asked for, like, "You saw that?" Yeah. It was like his son was like, I need a piece that's like a this long, shaped like this. And I'm like, I got it. Right? And so it's not a failure. You put it in the parts bin and there are lessons. And before you know it, you'll be reaching down up in there to pull that thing back out. And that's so important.
And failing is a muscle that you have to build. And the other thing that you can do when you are failing or when you feel like you are failing is have that open and honest conversation with the trusted person. Say, you know what? I feel like I am not doing great right now.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I don't always need to talk it out with somebody, but I just need to state like, hey, I feel like a failure because of XYZ. And that opens up so much compassion and empathy from the people in your life and gives them space to actually give you compassion.
Yeah, I also like that because I do that sometimes with Jason because like I am a little emotional ball. So I'm like, I'm a failure, like anything. And but what's really good is that I also get a lot of reaffirmation because I don't think we're not able to see ourselves in action a lot of times, and
Yeah.
I don't think we're able to give ourselves the credit that we deserve, right? Or whether that's just showing up for them in their own life, or like they really get to see us be ourselves. And I feel like having that open, honest conversation just reminds you that you're awesome most of the time.
It does. And it's so funny because I'll do that to my husband too. I felt like just a failure day. He was like, what? I was just singing your praises the other day.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how we have that one view of ourselves and we tend to, that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to journal so you can look back at all that you've done because it's so easy for you to forget about that and just focus on the one negative thing that's like right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like I tell Sydney, I think I'm going out of business at least once a week.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Today is the day.
Today's the day. It's going to happen.
Oh my gosh. And it's to the point where I just exhaust myself or where I just don't listen to the voice anymore because it's happened so often. But unless you fail or pivot, you never get to that point where it's like you said, it's like the muscle memory, right?
Yep.
Like, okay, I thought I was going out of business last Tuesday and we're still here. And then it was last Thursday, but we're still here. So like maybe that's bullshit.
Yep.
All right, Jess, we're going to wrap this thing up because we've been talking forever, but I swear we could do a part 2 of this thing.
Let's do a part 2. Let's
Oh
do
my
a part 2.
gosh. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, but in the meantime, where can our viewers, where can our amazing audience go to find you to learn all about VIP Day and everything else that you're doing?
So the best place to get in touch with me is Instagram, and my handle is Jess Milanes, JessMilanes. Or if you are interested in just looking at the website and seeing what we do and what we offer, go to www.smartpodcastsolutions.com. And yeah, I would love it if you said hi and that you came over from this episode. And I just need to say how much I love and adore both you and Sydney, Adria.
We love you, Jess, so much. It is so fucking mutual.
I need to come down to Atlanta and give you all big hugs.
Yeah,
We can drink coffee, go to a cafe.
All the things.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us, Jess. This was absolutely amazing. So many nuggets that I can't wait to see you put into the show notes.
Yes. Lisa, we'll see what you take out of here. Huh?
Yes.
Come on, Lisa.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Leaf Notes. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment below and let us know what your takeaway was. Or if you're listening, take a screenshot, post on social media with your takeaway. This will help us reach more small business owners just like yourself. If you would like to leave us a review, head over to your favorite podcast app and drop that 5-star rating. Your feedback helps others find our show. And until next time, we hope your business takes root and grows.